Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're just about to the end of another one. The sun's getting low in the sky, but got the rest of our filter fabric here. Plop that down on the ground real quick. Okay, so we've got all the rock in the trench all the way up from the collector here. You can see we've covered over the two drain tile pipes that were sticking out up here. And then last week in the evenings after work, that's our white rock we put on the 100-foot splice point. And I had finished up last weekend about right here. So, like I said, 3 evenings last week, I averaged about 20 feet each evening on the first two. That was about where I cut off the second time. And the last one was, about 12 feet down to the bottom here. We've got, well, ignore kind of some of the stuff that's going on here, but I can show you. We're rock all the way down to the base down here, so we'll address the rest of this area here in a bit. Back up toward the top here, that's all that's left of the big rock pile. That's why I have them throw it on the tarp. It makes final cleanup a lot easier, so a lot less raking to get the rest of that out of the sand. But up here at the top, to just kind of cap this off, keep it clean, I'm going to take another layer of that filter fabric and we are going to cover over the exposed rock that's right here. And then we'll get into a little bit of kind of my thought process behind the design of this kind of hybrid French drain / drain tile system that we're putting in. Okay, so it's the next day, and yesterday evening I finished tucking the edges of that filter fabric in all the way around, so we have a good overlap. The inner layer comes up, the outer layer goes down and around over it, trying to prevent any sediment from leaching in from either side. And you can see this morning now I've started lining the perimeter with some of the field stone from the larger rock pile just up there. So we'll head back up there real quick, and well, we have enough of it. We might as well utilize some of the natural resources that are on site, right? Plus, well, judging by the size of this pile, I'm pretty sure we can afford it. So I don't need very much, and Senior had more use for the tractor loader bucket than I did today, so he's got that. What I'm looking for is just anything that's kind of got rounded edges. I don't want sharp corners poking against that filter fabric, but we're in a pretty target rich environment up here. Yeah, I don't know if old man Dahlgren can see me now, but if he can, he is probably shaking his head. He pretty much breaks himself in half building this rock pile, and 50 years later along comes this fool kid that's putting it all back. Well, how times change, right? Oh, you know what? As long as we're here, that reminds me. Bear with me for a minute. Over here, the other day, I found this. Now, I might be an idiot. Well, I know I'm an idiot. That's already been established. But this rock is just different than anything else here. is this petrified wood? I just, you know, it looks to me like it's got a grain structure, its density, its weight, its everything else is just different from anything else I've found out here. I almost see like heartwood right there, and then spiraling out. Like, I don't know, if anybody with an educated brain could give me a yes or a no, it might just be a rock. But I don't know anything, but I've looked at a lot of rocks out here. This is not like any other rock I've picked up. I don't know, I have to dunk it in some water and see if I can see more of a grain. I don't know, maybe it's petrified wood, maybe not. I put it here. I found some rusty metal springs, so that helps me keep track of it. Okay, so the rock pile's gone. We used every bit of that, and honestly, came out just about perfect. Really happy with how much I had. So we're done up here at the top, and now for the way my monkey brain wants this to work. Not saying it's gonna, but this is the way I want it to work. So we have the large rock perimeter, which is gonna kind of further impede growth coming into this area of, you know, grasses, weeds, sticks. Well, sticks fall from trees there, you know, been a long day. But the center of it then is piled up with more of the 1 inch to inch and a half rock that is underneath and around the drain tile as it goes all the way down. And of course we have that filter fabric layer beneath this. So like I said, this has always been the low point, and when water comes off of this hillside, leaches through the rock pile and everything else, and hits that clay vein and comes out here, it can be a lot sometimes. So this was always the low point. I want the water to leach into this rock, go through that filter fabric, get into that 4-inch bed that we have below the drain tile, and if it builds up fast enough or deep enough, actually into the drain tile itself. Let's go down to the bottom. I'll show you what I did down there too. All right, step around the tractor. So you can see we'll come down the hill, and I took some fieldstone from that large rock pile up top, and I just created a nice little outlet right here, something to hopefully control erosion as water spills out the end right here. You can see I cut off the excess drain tile that used to be snaking all the way out to the stump pile over there, and I have the grates in the end of each one to keep any kind of critters from running up that. They have about 170 foot stretch where they could just be unimpeded, and I don't want them in there. So yeah, we have the 4-inch rock bed all the way down beneath the drain tile, and then we have that 1.5 inch rock surrounding it and covering it. Towards the end here, I threw some larger sandstone rocks in, kind of as a backstop to hopefully keep that smaller 1.5 inch rock up in there to keep it from washing down and funneling out around each side of the drain tile down here. And yeah, this nice flat rock had been up there for a while. I was just looking for something to do with it, so we can kind of spill out onto this. We have these other flatter sandstone rocks around the perimeter. It can waterfall down onto those, hopefully slow it enough that we're not washing gullies and what have you down into here. So we'll roll these flaps in, cover our rock base. I have this flat piece of sandstone, just going to go right there. And then this larger piece, cap it all off. Like that. So this is what the very end is going to look like, the outlet, like I said. And we've kind of got those plastic drain tile and end caps protected in there. Not a lot of UV light is going to shine on them. It's going to help that stuff last a lot longer. I think it'll kind of look nice, especially once we get it backfilled and you kind of have that berm behind it, and this is just kind of where the water spills out. So it took a few minutes to round up all these stones and get them to fit together well enough to pull this off. But yeah, I kind of like that. I think this is going to, it's going to work just fine. Back up here at the top once again. So this is going to be my one maintenance point of the system right here, because I'm going to leave this rock exposed. I'm not going to cover it over. We're going to start backfilling from there on. So the whole trench is going to be backfilled. This is going to be left open. Now, eventually, this rock will plug with debris. I'm going to have to be out here with the leaf blower keeping it clean and just kind of making sure that we keep the weeds and the grass under control, things like that. But eventually this little patch of rock is going to have to be dug back out, cleaned out, and have some clean material put back in. I'm not that worried about it. I want to try leaving this open on the top right here and giving that water, you know, a path of least resistance to follow to get into that drain and hopefully go on down that hill. So we're just going to try it out and see how it works over time. A couple pretty good comments under the last episode here where I was laying the drain tile in the trench on top of that 4-inch rock layer, and you know, they pointed out how with a French drain type system, in all likelihood, water may not build up high enough to even get into the drain tile at all to actually run out the ends of the tubes. It may just leach through that 4-inch sub layer right on out the end down there that way. And honestly, I'd be fine with that. That's part of what I put into the system here. I said last time it's a hybrid French drain / drain tile install. So French drains have been around literally for hundreds of years, and back in the day they would just dig a big trench in the ground, fill it with rock, and most times just leave that rock vein exposed, sometimes cover over it with a thin layer of sand or gravel, but most times you just leave it exposed because water acts sort of like electricity in the way that it will find the easiest path to follow. Electricity always finds the easiest path to ground. Gravity pulls on water, always takes it downhill, and water is going to follow the path of least resistance downhill. So that was the concept behind a French drain. You would dig a big trench, throw rocks in there, and all the voids and open spaces between those stacks of rocks gave the water an easier path to follow than having to leach through the surrounding material. That's what that 4-inch sub-base layer is there to do. A big problem with French drains was and still is, they will eventually silt in and plug. Water always brings with it, you know, fines, particles, you know, dirt, and that stuff over time is going to start filling those voids between all those rocks, and it makes the French drain less and less efficient as time goes on until it finally just gets so plugged that it really doesn't do its job anymore. Now that is going to happen even with this. Granted, we have the added benefit today of filter fabric that will let water flow through, but will keep a lot of that debris, a lot of that dirt out. This itself will silt in over time. I'm hoping that it's going to be long enough that I'm not going to have to dig it back up and redo it, but you know, everything has an expiration date. This is not exempt. So another benefit of that 4-inch sublayer beneath the drain tile, as this starts silting up, I'm hoping it's going to start building silt at the bottom and then working up. So I can monitor it over time. If all it does at first is leach out of the 4-inch rock base at the bottom, I'm fine with that. If it eventually gets to the point where it doesn't leach out of the rock anymore, but it starts running out of the drain tile, I know I'm starting to plug up from the bottom up. So it's all about how do we keep this as open as we can for as long as we can. So having the French drain rock, the filter fabric, and the drain tile, it gives that water lots of avenues to go down that hill. And another thing too with putting the drain tile in is flow capacity. I've seen how much water comes off this hillside when we've had rain coming down at like the rate of 1 inch an hour. It's a lot, and it may be enough where all the voids in those rocks in that 4-inch sub base can't flow enough volume, and it eventually builds up to the point where it starts leaching into the drain tile. So the drain tile is going to give it an even easier path to follow. One way or another, water's going to get to the bottom of that hill. So whether it's through the rock or through the tile, either way is fine with me, as long as it doesn't stay here, right? So okay, and those were some pretty good comments. Those are the type of comments I like to read. So it sparks some good discussions. So all right, we're pretty much done playing around with rocks. It's time to start backfilling. All right, so you're probably wondering why I'm bucketing in fill instead of using what I dug out of the trench. So I'm pulling material from the old sand knob over there because this is that clay vein in here. You can see how hard this pile is, and it's starting to crack, and you see how just chalky it is. I don't want to seal this back over with that clay. That stuff, well, at first it's going to shed water, not allow it to leach in. Second, what water does leach into that, it's going to hold. I want to have some decent, cleaner sand on here so we can get kind of a permeable layer that moisture, that water can soak down to. So we're relying on it coming in the inlet there and seeping in through the surface. So this nasty clay remains until about probably here. It starts turning sandier from there on out. So from here on, I'm just going to use the backhoe and pull this material that I took out and throw it back in there. But until I get to this point, we're going to be bringing it from over there. I'm making a little borrow pit. So whatever kind of a hole I put over there, it's way off on the side. I'm just going to take and clean that clay up and fill the hole that I make over there. Make sense? Found him hiding in there. Haul those off later. So, and there's always a few little roots. That's not a huge deal. But so for the first couple inches on top of the fabric, I will shovel that in by hand because I want that to be a cleaner layer. I don't want to have a sharp edged rock end up right on the fabric, and then after I tamp it in, it probably starts tearing a hole, you know. So until I get a couple inches on there, I'll just shovel it in by hand. Of course, we're doing baby shovelfuls now because, you know, one hand is tied up with the camera. And you know, there is rocks in this stuff. It's been a gravelly, sandy vein over there from the start, so it helps me to get a decent base layer down, kind of clean on top of that fabric, kind of pack it in a little bit, and then after that, we just dump. We go into production mode once we're done with the sensitive part of the work. Well, as you can see behind me, the sun is gone. We've found the end of yet another one. Kind of a shame too, because I was just finally able to get the backhoe in here and really start covering ground, but we've got the first 50 plus feet backfilled. Once again, just working our way on down to the bottom. So gotta go do the work thing again tomorrow. We'll blast back out here tomorrow evening, run the gauntlet once again, repeat and repeat until we're done. All right, backfilling. Found a rock. Well, we lost the sun about 20 minutes ago. It's going to be dark 30 soon. We got another pile of rocks that, well, as I'm scooping from my spoil piles over here, I have kind of been picking those out. So we're going to take those, throw them up in the rock feature. It's going to be dark 30 soon, so we're kind of in a hurry. This is Tuesday night after work. I didn't do a lot of filming tonight because I'm just trying to get this thing filled. We have Wednesday night, tomorrow night yet. I can come out here, see if I can get this backfilled, because they're actually talking potential rain on Thursday. I'd like for all this to be subterranean before that happens. So we got about another 60 feet of backfilling done tonight. Fully backfilled to here. Finally, our spoil piles get a little bit cleaner from here on out. That's the freshest stuff I dug. I have pre-filled about another 20 feet. So we have 3, 6, 9, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, about another 36 feet before we get down here to the outlet. I think we've put ourselves within striking distance to accomplish that goal. So I got to empty that rock bucket into the ring, get this thing home. It's going to be a headlights on night tonight. That's okay. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Well, we got the trench filled in, so I've been out here ever since I got home from work. Did not even stop to get anything to eat. We are, like I said, racing rain. So yeah, we got some cleanup to do along this side, and of course the roots and rocks and debris that I picked out of the backfill. But for now, I'm going to leave this just as it is down here, and I might fill in a little bit more around the end right here, the outlet, but I think that turned out pretty darn nice, considering this is all just stuff I had laying around. So we've got those pipes protected down there. The ends of the drain tile have the grates on there so the critters can't run up, and we'll just have to watch and see what the erosion factor on the surface looks like until we get some weeds and roots and whatever to take in there. So I'm gonna leave these debris piles on the ground for now, because it's not a necessity to get those cleaned up, however unsightly they may be. But considering we have rain coming tonight, and it's looking like a pretty good chance, that's right, we need it again. The last thing I need to do is get these piles of the clay that I did not use for backfill bucketed out of here, so none of that stuff runs into my opening up here at the top. Well, we outlasted the sun once again. You can see that cloud bank moving in. We've got some rain forecast for tonight and into tomorrow, so looking promising. And the French drain is in. I got the rest of the clay moved from up there, so our inlet's not going to plug. Still have quite a bit of cleanup to do down along there. That can happen later. That's not a big deal. And got all my debris cleaned up from the edge, so one last bucket full of rock there to go throw in the ring. And I'll tell you what, we can call it. We have nothing to be ashamed of out here right now. It was 4 days of just hammering it out. Every spare hour we had, making the best use, almost had it, of every one that we had. So it's a good feeling. I like it when you get something in and done and you met your goal like this. So let it rain. I don't know how much rain we're gonna have to get. The ground's so dry. How much we're gonna have to get before there's actually enough in there to see if this thing moves water. It might take until next spring after the snowpack melts. I don't know. Hopefully we get snow this winter. We'd be in trouble if we don't. It's been so dry this summer. But this isn't a weather report. All right, I'm gonna get this offloaded here and load tools out, turn the headlights on, go get this put back in the shed. Hopefully we get rain. So man, I think tomorrow night I'm just gonna be throwing videos together. I got like 4 of them living on the camera here. I just haven't had time to do any uploading. So yeah, we're gonna get the feed rolling again. So thanks for sticking it out with me, everybody. I know this one probably turned a little bit long-winded by the amount of files I have on the camera, but wanted to kind of see it to the end. So it's not done yet, but it's at least in, and we beat the rain. So thanks for watching, everybody.